and we're good to go. So all that being said, if you're ready to go, I'm ready to go. If you've known me for very long or you watched any of the stuff that I've put out there before, been any of my presentations, you'll notice that I talk fast, but most of the time you can listen fast. I'm going to slow down and give you some bullet points here, some things, some takeaways that you can have. But really what we're going to do is we're going to kind of have an open dialogue of some success tips, basically some things that have worked for me. And I'm going to give you some tips that have worked personally for me over the years. So real quick, in case you don't know who I am, because that probably might help, is I have been in the network marketing industry, network marketing, direct selling, whatever you want to call it, profession for about 23 years, most of which has been full time. I have earned, multiple seven figures in this period of time. I'm not saying that, and that is, I'm not saying anybody ever does that, but just I've been able to, over that span of 23 years, I've been able to, spend all the time I wanted with my wife of 24 years as of last month. Just had another anniversary, and my three children. Okay. Previous to this, so if I, so let's give you a quick business background. I had none. I was supposed to go to the military when I was in high school. I enlisted. I broke my leg my senior year playing football, got pins in it, got a medical discharge. Didn't know what I was going to do. Ended up getting odd jobs here and there. I'm a kind of a stocky guy. I kickbox, do martial arts, things like that, jujitsu. Ended up getting in the bar business. I got a bouncer job. And the next thing I know, I'm 8 years into a bartending and bouncing career, which was taking me nowhere fast until somebody in 1997 introduced me to the direct selling network marketing industry. And it really changed my perspective on what was possible with my life, because I had grown up in a small town, kind of in the middle of nowhere. You'll probably recognize the hillbilly accent that I have a slight bit of. And I grew up in the country. And most of the friends that I had, their family, their parents all worked 9-to-5 jobs. I don't think I ever knew a friend of mine or a family member that had made more than maybe $50,000 a year in their jobs and things like that. And something deep down inside of me just knew I did not want to be go the normal route. And I think that's why I was looking into the military. But then that changed as well. What it would appeal to me, and probably appeal to you, was I was really in the bar business. I was just looking to create a secondary income, something that could supplement my income so I could lessen the hours. At that time, I was really in love with my now wife, and knew that the bar business was not going to be something that I could probably stick around in and have a healthy relationship with, obviously. And so that was what it was. And what I'll tell you, and I'll be transparent and honest with you, networking has been tough in a lot of cases, right? It's been hard. It's been a pain in the butt sometimes. It's been difficult, and the thing is as good as you think it is when you start to have success, it's much better than you can imagine. Okay. All the things that you went through, the walking uphill in the snowstorms and stuff like that, pale in comparison to actual success and freedom. Okay. And a lot of people have asked me like why I do networking. I'm not a super materialistic person to the point that that's not less necessarily my driving force. I'm more of a freedom guy. Like I will do anything for freedom. Freedom meaning I never, ever, ever, ever liked hearing an alarm clock go off. That was like, man, if you want to rub somebody wrong, that's the deal. And I realized that if I did what they said I should do, if I learned the skills, if I picked up the things, learned the skills I needed to do that and build a business, eventually I could probably get some freedom. And here I am 23 years later, and I've done a handful of companies over these years, and was finally introduced to iBuumerang back about, it was right when it launched, March. I think I signed paperwork. Basically, I sent my application in on March the 9th of last year of 2019. They pre-launch started on the 11th, and it's been amazing. And I'm so excited for what this company's put together. I believe the future is so bright. We're all going to have to wear shades. Those of us who understand the significance of what we have our hands on and things like that, and become forward thinking. So all that being said, there's my background. I want to just catch the numbers up and stuff like that. I see a bunch of my friends on here. Thank you guys for your support. You're again welcome to put questions in there and so on. But what I want to do is I want to cover just a couple things, and then I'm going to take Q&A because I think it's kind of fun to answer people's questions. But one of the things that I've been known for over my career has been being able to personally recruit. I also, if you're new or didn't know this, I was actually in the Houston event that they just had back in, what was it? I think it was April, middle of April. I got awarded the top recruiter award in iBuumerang, which is cool. I think over my 23-year career, I've personally enrolled just over 2,000 personals, which is kind of hard to comprehend to do that. But there was a reason behind this, okay? One of the things that I started to learn from some of the most successful people was they had certain things in common. They had typically enrolled more people than people that weren't making a lot of money. I mean, I know that's so common. It should be common sense. And I always thought that there was some super secret that they were hiding behind closed doors of why some of these people were successful, right? And so I always attended just about every event that I could be around and get to and stuff like that. And I remember asking these people these things, and most of the time, it just came down to, well, yeah, I put in, 15, 20 people. I put in 50 people. I put in 100 people. I put in 20 people. I put in 60 people. It all kind of came back to that. I also realized that the majority of people everybody had a different personality. Everybody was doing something slightly different. But one of the things, the key components that I figured out was successfully recruiting was that most of it just came down to consistency, because I think one of the misconceptions, and here's the success tip for you right out of the gates, is that most of us want overnight success. Myself included. We always want it to happen yesterday versus, into the future. And I think that if you approach this business with a more realistic expectation that you are first and foremost, you're in a business, that you have to treat it like a business. If you want hobby money, treat it like a hobby. And most people lose money with hobbies. But if you want it to be a business to where it spins off, real cash, you have to treat it like a business. You have to learn certain skills. You have to develop character. You have to have integrity. You have to do a lot of different things. And I've got a little stack of books I'm going to give you a reference here in a minute. But those things were some of the most important things I had to learn right out of the gates. But back to the recruiting. There was a couple of turning points in my career of learning that I had to become a better recruiter. Basically, it wasn't about, and here's the thing when it comes to recruiting, is one of the things that I had to learn that was probably the most significant lesson is to focus only on what I could control, not what I can't control, and not focus on the outcome, but focus on the behavior / activity. Okay. If I could tell you anything, and this is the only thing you remembered, to me, activity matters most. Okay. Obviously, you got to do the right activity. The right activity, the wrong activity is going on Facebook and just looking at Facebook feed. That's not an activity. Introducing people to the business, to view something, to watch something, read something, listen to something, is the right activity. I realized that if I learned to say less to more people, that's Jim Rohn, track 6, how to build your network marketing business, by the way, that I knew that if I just stayed that course, that eventually the numbers would work out. I trusted that Jim Rohn wasn't lying to me on track 6. I listened to it thousands of times, probably over my career. It's always good refresher. And I began to do those things. I began to apply myself. Probably about 10 years into the business, I actually kind of started to develop my own little formula, and I call it the 5 steps. And I'll give these to you real quick. I'm not going to go into much detail with them, but this is the same formula, the same steps I have done every single day since I basically figured out how network marketing worked. Like I said, I've been doing this for 23 years. I made okay money for about 10, but really launched it after I started to the puzzle became more cohesive, understandable, and the pieces came together, okay? The 5 steps are very simply this: prospect, contact, present, follow up, and repeat. Let me say it again: prospect, contact, present, follow up, and repeat. This formula has not only helped me to recruit many, many people, it has never failed. It didn't matter any business I was ever in, any other company I'd ever joined. And I didn't just, if I left something, it wasn't like I was pulling teams or anything like this. It was, I knew these were principles that were almost written in stone, right? Kind of thing that never failed. So let's talk about prospecting. Prospecting is merely, who am I going to talk to, right? And maybe that question will come up and stuff like that. I believe that most people don't understand how many people they have access to, but because mentally they are prejudging people and they're thinking of outcome versus activity, they dismiss a person on their list, and their list begins to shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink. Because you can't tell the duds from the studs, you can't tell the zeros from the heroes. You never know who's the pot of gold and who's the lump of coal. Okay, I mean, I've had more people that I've enrolled that said, "I'm going to tear this up. I'm going to be your biggest guy. When I get something going, watch out," and you never hear from them again. Then I got those people that are brand new, that are just hungry, that go out there and tear it up, and you just don't know. So again, don't focus on the outcome. So prospecting is basically just making your list. Obviously, there's plenty of trainings out there. Prospect, contact. Now this one I'm going to teach you. Okay. I used this exact 5 steps and exactly what I'm about to show you to win a recruiting contest quite a few years ago, like almost 8 years ago. All I did was I watched my 2 sons. They were young at the time, playing football, and at football practice, all I did was exactly what I'm going to show you. And all I did was I would make phone calls to people and ask them permission to send them something. And I believe that by asking someone permission first to send somebody something always set me up and postured me for a more open and more casual dialogue to build a business. Okay. And here's how it went. Okay. So ring, ring, phone rings. Hey, Joe. Hey, Mike Healy. How you doing, buddy? Good, good, good. Hey, listen, I know you're probably busy and I'm not going to take up a lot of your time, but do you care if I send you an email? No? All right, cool. Listen, is your email joe at bigman@aol.com? Yep. Okay, cool. I'll get this over to you. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to send you a link to a short video. If you don't mind, just check it out. I'll follow up with you about 24 hours. If it makes sense, great. If not, no big deal. Is that cool? Okay. All right. Appreciate it. Thanks. Click. As simple and unsophisticated as that seemed, that has never, ever failed. Ever, 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 ever. Because all I did was, if you think about what I just did, is I focused most importantly on the activity of getting somebody in front of it. Now, here's the thing, is obviously the more you do it, the better you get. And what I did, what really created, I think, more of the success than just the process was the consistency, the habit I got to develop. And then what I would do is I always use just yellow pads or a little notepad. I wasn't never using a computer, but I would sit back to the football. I was sitting outside with my boys watching football practice, and I'd call people up either on my phone or I had a little list of names, and I'd write their name down and I'd put SE next to them, send email. And that's all I did. I would write their name and their phone number and their email address. And then every day, what I did was I stayed consistent with a number of people that I could contact that I believed I could control. My number just happened to be 10. Now, 10 might sound low to you, but what happens is a lot of times people go, well, that seems pretty easy. I'm going to contact 50 a day. And here's what happens. In most cases, people go out there and they think they can contact 50 a day. Maybe you contact 45. But what happens is you contacted 45 and you didn't necessarily hit 50 because it was maybe too big of a slice for you to bite off. And you feel a little bad about what you did and you didn't achieve that. Well, then the next day, maybe you only get 25 contacts and now you really feel bad. But what I did is I set a smaller goal so that I was more able to achieve that. And now here's the thing. It wasn't, I didn't leave a message. I didn't do anything like that. I just called him, asked him to send him. Now what did I send him? Let's get to that point real quick. Here, dear Joe, or hey, Joe, thanks for letting me send you this. Here's a link to the I Decide presentation. When you get a second, check it out. It's only a couple minutes long. It's really cool. I'll follow up with you. Thanks again for letting me send it to you, Mike. Ta-da. Okay. I kid you not. I kid you not. So many people complicate the heck out of this thing when really all they are doing is that. Okay. It does. And here's the thing. It doesn't even necessarily matter what you send somebody. You could just send them the I Decide. You could send them a link to your website. You could send them a recorded presentation that somebody did. You could send them a link to the video of one of the things. It doesn't matter, because write this down. Here's another clue for you. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person, but you can say all the right things to the wrong person and waste all your time. Because what I learned how to master was, again, and I'm going to repeat myself multiple times so you get this, was to not focus on the things I couldn't control, but only things I could. I could control how many times I dialed that phone. And if my goal was to get 10, I didn't stop until 10 people said yes. And I think, I kid you not, I only think one person in the last 23 years, two people in the last 23 years ever said no, I couldn't send them something. And it was like I laughed about it. But everybody did that. Now, prospect, contact, present. Present, I let the tool do the work. I let the tool do the work. Okay. One of the other things I learned how to do, and you need to do this, is I learned how to master becoming the messenger, never the message. Sure, I can give a good presentation. Sure, I can talk the game. But the thing is when I'm recruiting, I'm always asking myself if the prospect, can the prospect do what I just did? Can the prospect do what I just did? And if they can't, I've messed up the whole scenario. If I'm this sharp, super polished person, that's why I sound and act like a dork half the time, because I'm just laid back. I'm just casual. I'm more fun. It's I'm just having a good time, and I'm not taking it so serious that it's like scaring anybody. I just stay consistent with that. So prospect, contact, present. Again, using the tools to do the work. Follow up. Let's get to that. Obviously, everybody knows the phrase fortune's in a follow-up. So what I would do is I got my little list of my paper right here. I got all my names written down, and I would start calling back. So I'd made my 10 contacts. So I did the first part of the little activity. And now I had to follow up with those people that I sent emails to yesterday. So what happens is when I'm on there now, I call it up. So here's the thing. Here's the key. Is how many times have you prospected somebody relentlessly, then try to follow up and call them, and you can't figure out why they won't call you back, won't answer your phone, won't return your messages, won't text back? It's because you've attacked them with the killer bees, badgering and begging. You have to be postured when you do this. And again, if you say less to more people, you will work the numbers quicker and it will work out. So follow-up is simply this. And here's the thing, because the very first message the phone call that I gave to somebody when I called them was, hey, Joe, Mike Healy, I know you're busy. I'm not going to take up any of your time. Can I send you an email? Thanks, click. I rushed them off the phone. I didn't have a conversation. In fact, if it's my first talk to somebody and I hadn't talked to them in a while and they start a conversation, I cut it short and I get off anyhow, because I want the curiosity. I want curiosity. I want curiosity. I want them curious about what I'm saying. I want them to know the urgency, the sense of urgency. There's lots of great trainings on a sense of urgency, right? So follow up, ring, ring. Hey, Joe, Mike Healy, how you doing? Good, good. Hey, is now a good time? I never, ever continue a conversation or a phone call without asking somebody if it's a good time. I do not want them washing dishes. I do not want them changing diapers when I call. I do not want them fixing the car when I call. I do not want to know they just were fighting with their wife or whatever. It's very important to be respectful to people's time. And by me asking that question at the beginning, it positions me to know if we're going to keep talking or not. Ring, ring. Joe, is now a good time? Oh, no, you're putting the kids down? Okay, cool. Call you back in an hour? Yeah, no problem. I can do that. Click, right? Boom, on and off the phone. Not, well, I know you're in a hurry. Let me talk to you. It's so amazing. Nope, doesn't work like that. So what I do, ring, ring. Is now a good time? Oh, great. So did you get the email? Always ask if they got it first and foremost, because sometimes they didn't. Yes, Great. Okay. Did you have a chance to watch, read, listen, whatever, to whatever you sent them? Did you have a chance to watch the video? And if you get the I decide, obviously a lot of times you can see that they opted in, they watched it, and you get a report back. That's kind of helps a lot of times. But let's say you just sent them a YouTube video. You did. You watch it. Oh, great. What did you like best? Ta-da. I kid you not, when you ask somebody what you liked best, the key to that question is very simply this. By asking somebody what they liked best, you're not talking about what your why is. You're talking about what their why is, because your why doesn't mean squat to them. It has to be about their why every single time. Okay. That's the key. So yes, I will be opening. Oh, somebody's answering that. Yeah, I will be taking questions here in a little bit. I saw the little thing pop up. Let me just see if I was doing this. Make sure, because here's the thing. So I prospect, contact, present, followed up, and I repeat the process. I just start to flow over. I start to flow over. I start to flow over. You should get almost mind-numbingly bored by doing the same process enough times over and over and over again, because that's what happens. If you think about playing basketball as an example, shooting free throws, shooting free throws, shooting free throws, you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over. At first, are you any good at it? But eventually, if you start hitting 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10, 5 out of 10, some guys can hit 10, 20, 30 3-pointers in a row, right? They've mastered their craft by keeping things simple. Okay. Last thing I want to talk to you about on the recruiting, and then I'll probably just go into taking questions. When it comes to recruiting, the other thing too is when questions come up, I typically never answer most questions myself. What I do, and there's a reason, I'll give it to you, is I always ask myself when they ask that question, is there a video, a tool, a system, a website, somebody I can put on the phone, whatever, that will answer that question for me? And here's a reason for that, is because my prospect is probably, again, throughout the entire process, they're typically asking themselves, can I do it? Or they're thinking, can I do what Mike just did? Can I do what Mike just did? Well, Mike, if you ask me about the comp plan, guess what I'm going to do? And obviously trying to explain a network marketing comp plan over the phone is like giving a haircut over the phone. But what I would do is say, that's a great question. I think you're going to love it. And here's a key. Here's a really big success tip. If you learn to get extremely good and enthusiastic about edifying your tools, you'll crush it. You'll crush it. If you get very good at edifying the tools and the systems, it takes the pressure off of you to not have, you may not have any credibility, influence, background, business background in your first deal. But if you get excited, enthusiastic, and just go, oh my gosh, wait till you see this, the video on the comp plan that I'm going to send you. It is the coolest thing. It was the most amazing, eye-opening thing I've ever seen as a way to make money. You're not even going to know what to do with yourself. I'm apologizing now. You're not going to be able to sleep. Do you see the difference when I'm talking to somebody on a phone or on Zoom or whatever? Is I've learned, you should learn this, on how to edify a tool to the point that they can't help but want to watch it. People aren't watching your decides is because you didn't edify the significance of why they should watch it. There's tools that you can use to maybe get people excited to do that, or conversations, but learn to be good at promoting stuff. And when I say promoting stuff, is edifying tools, systems, people, and events. And if you take the pressure off yourself and put it on the tools and systems, you're unstoppable. You can point to everything. I point to the Facebook page. I point to iBoom Hub all the time. I don't answer questions on how you contact XYZ. I send them there. You know why? Because when they're brand new and they just join, I want them to be able to do exactly what I just did. I don't want my new person to think they need 23 years back network marketing experience. I want them to have success straight out of the gates because they can do what I just did. And if you watch some of the most successful people, it's all about repetition. It's all about repetition. It's about consistent activity about the things. Now, real quick, I want to give you because I got these sitting here. And I'm going to give you a couple handfuls of books that changed my life. Write these down, and then I'm taking Q&A for probably at least 30 minutes. Okay. I'm all fired up. I don't have anything planned until 7. So anyhow, first book anybody ever told me to read in network marketing. All you can do is all you can do, but all you can do is enough by Art Williams. First reason I got this book was a guy that gave it to me who was probably the first person, or referred it to me, was probably the first person to ever make over $1 million a month in direct selling back in 1997 when I met him. It's so easy to read, but it got me to start thinking like a business person, an entrepreneur. And Art Williams built one of the largest successful insurance agencies, basically through the direct selling model I've ever seen. Next book, if you haven't read this, if you're new to networking or being an entrepreneur in general, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And I would obviously, hopefully you would get the follow-up to that, Cash Flow Quadrant. If you're new to networking, if you're new to being an entrepreneur, this type of business, quit looking at it from a network marketing standpoint and start thinking of it like a business, okay? Next book, great book, Slight Edge. In fact, if you get the audio version, the first 30-minute intro is almost all you need to listen to because it's that good. Jeff Olson wrote this. Fantastic book. Go get that one. This one, another multimillionaire in networking sent this or told me about this. This could be one of my new favorites. How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling by Frank Boettiger. Okay, this guy wrote this in like the 40s, but the first chapter alone on enthusiasm changed my results almost overnight. I'm not kidding. Overnight, a third grader could read this. Very simple, easy book. Everything you can obviously go get out there. You're building a team. Let's go a little more advanced. That's a lot of personal development right there. You're building a team. You cannot go wrong with this book right here, Bringing Out the Best in People by Alan Loy McGinnis. Alan Loy McGinnis. Okay. Again, another multi-millionaire networker, said this was basically his Bible of what he taught and did. And if you're dealing with people in networking, that's your one. And then this one, I just like this one. It's very thick. It's a little hard to read. I typically only make it through about the first 3 or 4 chapters. But the real cool part about that is that was when I read that book 12 years ago, or I'm sorry, 10 years ago. It had to deal with doing the vital behaviors, the right activities, and it absolutely blew my mind the way that I started to do these activities on a consistent basis and teaching my team the vital behaviors, stripping it down, peeling the onion back to get to the right thing. So all that being said, who wants Q&A? Who wants Q&A? Questions are already here, and now I got to put my dad glasses on so that I can read these. Question number 1. And hopefully you guys got something out of this. I hope you put comments. I'll go back and probably watch it and even maybe respond to some of the comments. I like to do that. Question number 1, could you share how you have used YouTube and social media to get business partners and customers? Yes, great question. Okay, obviously, I have a very large YouTube channel and following and things like that. And here's the thing, is I learned first and foremost how to recruit, doing the basics, boot camp type stuff, okay? And because it's low-hanging fruit. It's low-hanging fruit. Yeah, everybody wants the easy stuff. We all want the easy stuff, right? I want 2-minute abs, not 10-minute abs, by the way. 2-minute abs versus 10-minute abs. But what I'm saying is this, is when it comes to social media and what we would call marketing takes much longer to establish, all right? But here's what I would suggest if you ever plan on like putting stuff on YouTube, putting stuff on social media, is take the time to think about your ideal prospect or recruit, okay? Your ideal, like your perfect person that you would love to be in business with. And then what you do when you make your content on social media is you figure out what things, what desires that we call it avatar, Okay, I'm not going to give nerdy on you because I kept everything basic, but I have a pretty extensive 11-year online marketing background as well. But what you do is you create kind of the profile. Let's put it to you that way, a profile of your perfect candidate. And then what you want to do is you want to look at your profile of the person you have and start asking yourself, what questions does this person have? What issues, what problems does this person have that I could make some content on that would answer or help that person? Because people join people in networking or any business typically, especially in networking, because they know you, like you, and trust you. If you look at the top people, the diamonds in our company, they've created a community and culture first and foremost. But I didn't mention, I forgot to mention this. This is significant, and maybe it's a question, but real quick. All these things are great, but again, the glue I think that holds this together is community and culture. Because believe it or not, a lot of people are not just attracted to the money, but they're attracted to the community and culture. How many people do you know have stuck around networking for 10, 15 years in the same company that never make any money? I know that sounds weird, but there's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's nothing wrong. I mean, I call those people the ones that just show up to eat the cookies, right? But if you have a lot of people that are showing up just to eat the cookies, that makes a lot of money for you. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's commendable because people are seeking out mentorship. Okay, back to the social media part. Think these are tips. Think about this. What could you bring to the table? What could you answer to me if I had an issue, if I was your perfect candidate, your avatar, that you could start posting and start teaching on? Okay, let me go to the next question. How do you train your new unseasoned partners to not be afraid to approach potential prospects? This came in early. I probably covered it. I didn't know she's going to, that Yasmin is going to get the questions this early. That's good. Again, what I just taught you a couple minutes ago based on letting the tools do the work and learning to get someone to be fired up about a tool and edifying the process, edifying the tool will take the fear out of it. That's why that's why I could recruit and make money when I had no credibility or influence. Same thing with most of you. Question number 3, what's the best way to motivate your teams during these times? Great question. And I believe that comes back to community and culture. Sometimes in a crisis, a time like this, you typically find out who are your real partners in in a firefight. And the foxhole is what they call it in the military terms, right? When you're in a foxhole and things are going south or whatever, you got to figure out who your friends are. I think a lot of times how you motivate people is I don't necessarily try to crack the whip and say, did you recruit anybody today? That never comes out of my mouth. It's never, I don't even think ever come out of my mouth. But what I might do is if what I do is I stay consistent with my personal growth, right? And if I learn something, I might send them a message, an audio message. I would leave somebody a text. So if let's say somebody I know might be on the, wavering, they got a little fear going on because of XYZ. And I'd say, hey, Lisa, hey, Mike Healy here. Listen, I know we were just talking a couple of days ago and you were saying that you were dealing with this, right? I just read out of the book, Bringing Out the Best in People, something that totally reminded me of you. It's really, really incredible. And I would go through and give them that scenario. And just that little positive reinforcement. A lot of times too, you might find a good YouTube video, something that encouraged you. Like the great question, back to what the question was, what's the best way to motivate your team during these times? I typically, again, find tools. I find old videos on YouTube or something like that. My sponsor, Tommy Johnson, he sends me stuff all the time. Like he'll send me an old Holton Bugs one that I may not have seen, or I'll have an issue that I can't figure out, or I need just a refresher on, and he'll say something and then he'll find me the video that he watched 3 years ago. We look these things up and we pass these things on to each other. So again, we're not having to carry the burden of stuff, because back to that too, when it comes to answering people with tools and maybe helping motivate people with tools, is one of the things I learned a long time, or what just works for me, is to try to create more of a systems dependent team than a people dependent team. Because what if I'm having a bad day and I just can't wake up and get out of bed to go do anything? I'm just not motivated at all. Instead of leaving that guy high and dry, I could send him a video that motivated him, right? Or recommended books for somebody to read or something. I was still proactive, that kind of thing. But I have learned, the hardest thing I think most people experience in networking is the emotions of it, the emotions of it. And you have to learn how to take your emotions from going from a 2 when you're in the dumps on a scale of 1 to 10, from a 2 to an 8 or a 9, right? When you go from a 2 to a 9, a 2 to a 9, something great happened and you're just running around like you're chicken with the head cut off. Something terrible happened and we're about to ready to have a funeral for you. You have to learn how to go 6, what would that be? 4 to 6. Okay, you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, but stay a little more consistent and you'll be able to stay the course longer. That's typically the thing, is most people run on their emotions and it can really wear them down. Question number 4, Mike, what exactly are you sending people to get their attention? I think I kind of covered that. It's an email. Basically, I literally just I covered that. Who's your greatest influence and why? My greatest influence and why is my pastor. My pastor's name is Gary Cassie, and he's a business person. He was a business person before he was a pastor, but I've been going to the same church since my daughter's 23. So almost 22 years I've been going to the same church. And I knew that he had a background. He was actually in A.L. Williams at one time. So a lot of the things I hear him reference on stage and stuff resonated with me and got me to kind of stick. But I've learned the most from him probably because of character, adversity. Obviously, I'm not going to go into the details of being saved and all that. That's a completely different conversation. But from the integrity, character standpoint, doing things properly, that kind of thing. My pastor, Gary Cassie, is probably my greatest influence. And that's probably why. There's just multiple reasons, because I've seen him have to deal with adversity and how he came through it, whether it was family issues, business issues, things like that. And he's always been transparent. And I just respected that him for that. And I know that the mentorship of just being under that tutelage for all those years, the results speak for themselves. I mean, I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And the bar business will still revert back every once in a while where I want to punch somebody in the head for being dumb, but hopefully I've passed on that. Okay, number 6, what is the biggest obstacle you had to overcome? Biggest obstacle I had to overcome was when my dreams felt like they were completely dead. I've done obviously networking, like I said, multiple times, and there have been times in my life where a company went out of business, something unexpected happened. The owners did something stupid and killed the company. Whatever, it could be any amount of, it doesn't matter, right? But I remember the one time, I think the one time that was so brutal to me was one company that went out and just, I built something I tried and things like that. And I literally remember being so mad and so disappointed. I took my desk and everything, all the books I had, all the leadership, and I just threw it off my desk. Almost, it was literally like one of those movie scenes where you just flip the tables. And I sat in a corner and I cried. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And I remember one time, and I mean, and this is not me trying to be religious or anything like that. Okay, you can pick and choose whatever your religion you have. But I remember crying and I was whining and whining and whining. And I remember out of nowhere in my head, I was complaining because I have a Christian background, and I was praying about something, or I was mad, and I said, "This is too hard. This is stupid." And I remember hearing this phrase, "Ever seen a crucifixion?" And that was it. And I said, that is literally like a switch turned right there. Again, I don't go into detail on this, but that was something that just tripped my trigger right there. I just backed off and said, "Yep, I'm going to get through this. This is not so bad. I'm just a networker. It doesn't matter. I'll figure it out. And there's going to be, then tomorrow's going to be better." And I did. And it was probably one of the hardest things, is when I just thought that my dreams had completely died and that I was done. and I didn't know what I was going to do. Okay. All right. Next question. What tools do you think are the most important in learning to succeed? Um, Personal development, first and foremost, are the tools, because you can, and again, because again, people are always looking for the right website, the right CD. You know, back then it was tapes and CDs. I'm old enough to remember tapes and CDs. You know, this guy gives a better presentation than this guy. And in my personal opinion, people follow people first and foremost. And if you just be a good person, you stay the course, people are going to want to do business with you. We have the easiest thing to possibly ever be done in networking. What we do, we give stuff away for free. Are you kidding me? Okay. You shouldn't complicate this. This is probably the easiest thing I've ever done. You know, I mean, the customer base is massive for not only me, but some of my people on my team. It's hilarious. Okay. It's not necessarily about the tool, it's the people you're dealing with. And if you're a good person and you're having fun, people are attracted to that. Be the type of person that you would want to sign up with. Not hard to figure that out, right? If you're that type of person, it's going to save you a lot of headache. Okay. Considering the I Decide is mostly focused on travel and travel is on pause for part right now, how do you create value for someone who needs money to make money right now? That's a great question. The question is it truthful that travel's not happening right now? And I don't think it's happening to the scale a lot of people publicly see, because most of us are distracted with a lot of things that we're being bombarded with. But all you got to do is go to what is it, flightplan.org or something like that, and you can see the live flights of planes. The United States is covered, covered with flights. I just went. I just went to Florida 2 weeks ago. If I look obnoxiously tan, as I've been in the sun for about 2 weeks, because it's been winter and we skipped spring. Spring wasn't even a real spring here. I'm in Ohio, and I went on a trip and it was fantastic. Okay, I went on a trip and it was absolutely fantastic, and the hotels were getting booked up. I tried to get reservations, and they were booking up so fast we couldn't get the first three we attempted. You can't tell me travel's not happening. And again, you have to be forward thinking. If somebody's looking for money right now, you have to be honest with them that this, you know, there can be people that are, you know, that can go make money. You can make money fast, right? But I'm just saying, from the normal scenario, most people are doing this type of business on a very part-time basis. And if somebody has a false expectation coming in that maybe they got 50 customers this week, but they didn't make $50,000, they're all disappointed when they don't realize they just created assets for down the road. So that's one of the things that you have to work through in your conversations with people, is giving them a realistic expectation. And talk about what, I mean, if you, Johnny Wimbrey does obviously probably one of the best jobs, obviously Holton too. But as far as, you know, projecting your future, Johnny Wimbrey's mastered that. Okay. And he has the check to prove it. He has the check to prove of why what he's saying and projecting the future works, because people are attracted to that. If you're just projecting what's happening today, that's not a real business model. You always have to look forward. You have to be forward thinking. Okay. So that's a great question. Well, what was the last book I recommended? How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling. That might have been in, I think it was Influencer. Okay. Keep the questions coming. Mr. Healy, do you use a lead generating system to reach prospects, or do you grow strictly organically? If so, which system would you recommend? Most of the stuff, the people that I talk to, is organic. Okay. Most is organic. Back to what I was mentioning when I think the first question about the social media stuff was, I put out videos and things like that are fairly generic, that are kind of tailored towards my target market, and I offer solutions. Okay. One of the things you could easily do is create, one of the big things that people are doing that are working very well is creating Facebook groups. and don't name them. You can't name them the company name, and you don't do things like that, but maybe create a Facebook group that offers training tips, business tips, whatever, to your target market, and you promote that. Like that's one of the things that I do a lot of times. Like I have a couple Facebook groups, one of which is it's more like success tips for networkers. That's a private group, and I put just short videos in there and things that will kind of help them. So I'm generic, and I'm offering value to people. I'm offering value to people. I'm not selling to people. I'm not selling to people. I am offering value to people. I'm offering value to people. And one of the reasons that I like putting such a lot of content out there too is it lives forever. If you think about it, here's the thing, like a lot of you don't realize that if you took the time to do a Facebook Live and gave a presentation and not looked at the little tiny screen in the corner that shows you have 0 people attending or 1 person, and oh my gosh, it grew to 2 and now it dropped to 1. If you focus on the activity of giving a killer, great, super awesome, enthusiastic presentation fairly quickly, you've created a piece of content. There was a bug there. You've created a piece of content that lives forever that you can now send to people. You can do a watch party with it a week later. You can put it on a YouTube channel. You can create it as you can put it on a web page if you have that. And all these little things are sitting there. They're putting little pieces of content out there. Like that's typically what I do is I'll do a Facebook Live presentation. I don't care how many people join me. I'll invite people to jump on. Some will jump on, some won't. I'll do a Facebook Live. It's a presentation. I then download it, upload it to my YouTube channel, and now I've got a presentation. A couple days later, I do another one. I do the exact same presentation. And it's on my Facebook page. I download it. I put it on my YouTube channel. And now I've just created multiple pieces of content that are now doing work for me because people will start to go look. And here's the thing, if you're putting content out there and people are having fun with interacting with you, and you're not just pitching, sell, you'll get people that organically start to be like what you're doing and engaged with who you are and what you're all about. That kind of thing. Yasmin, do I have any more questions? If you got any more questions, now's the time. Because if not, I'm going to go eat because that's what I do. And it is one of my gigs. I just want to know if everybody got some stuff out of this. I want some content. I want some comments so that I can see this. Did you get some good stuff out of this? I know I went 50 minutes on you. Hopefully you did. Give me some hearts, some likes, emojis, some comments down here below, because I think we're probably good. And I appreciate you guys taking the time. Yes, I see them. Perfect. Yes, this was great. Okay, I see the Zoom comments coming in. Excellent. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of close with this. There they are. See them all coming in. That's what I like to see. Boom, 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 boom. Here's what I tell you. This is recorded. It's on Facebook. You can go back and watch it again. Obviously, I talk fast. I would go through it one more time. Absorb the information that I just laid out with you. This is stuff that's tried and true. I've done it over and over again. I'm first and foremost, I'm a husband and father. I am not a networker. I am a husband and father. Those are my 2 priorities. Okay. And I just realized that creating a business like this on the side that can become a primary income thing for you, it is worth it. Because when you can wake up when you're done sleeping, you can spend all the time in the world that you want with your kids when you want to. There's no substitute for that. It doesn't matter how many no's you got in the first 6 months. Okay. It does not matter. It does not matter. Okay. So believe in yourself. You are in the right place at the right time. We have the leadership that we have between Holton and obviously I mentioned Holton and Edwin. The character that they have is my favorite thing. Knowing who Holton was, I didn't know who Edwin was at the time. I've only met Holton twice and maybe had a 2-minute conversation with him since I've been involved in a year and a half. Okay. I mean, that's just, it is what it is. And that's, there's not, it's cool. I watch his videos. I watched his videos before this company even existed. I wasn't in any of his companies before. I didn't know I wasn't in anything he'd ever done before. But one last thing is, I taught on this on one of the Zooms on here before, was chase mentorship, not money, and the money will happen. Chase mentorship, not money, and the money will happen. And I had a girl in part of our kind of our friends, and we're kind of sidelined, but we all work together. And she had said this on a Zoom to a bunch of us, that when I said that to her and she started really focusing on going into the back office under the training tab and watching all of the $1 million earners in the back office that have put trainings out for you to learn from, when she started going through and chasing the mentorship, she hit Sapphire just like that, and now she's got people hitting Sapphire. Okay. And it comes down to those aspects of it. Chase mentorship, not money. The money will happen. All the other skills are very simple to learn. You can get there and so on. So all that being said, in the words of Art Williams, if you'll do today what others won't, you can live tomorrow like others can. I am Mike Healy. I appreciate you guys, and I am out. Boom, right?